Dr. Sarah Mumm, the Director of Emotional Service, Early Childhood through 5th grade. Today I have some staff from John Stewart Elementary School with me to discuss MTSS co-teaching. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Patty Griffith. I am the 4-5 MTSS support teacher.
John Ahearn, ELA KPAS 4 and 5.
Excellent. Thank you so much for stopping by and kind of chatting for a little bit on MTSS co-teaching. It's something that we've been working on the last couple of years, as you guys know, and really building that MTSS cohesiveness and teamwork. And we wanted to hear kind of your tips and strategies for it. So the first one is really, as a team, how have you built that cohesiveness? What strategies did you use? Kind of what did you build to become a team?
So John and I have known each other outside of school, so that definitely made it easier.
Kids were hanging out with each other.
Yes, our kids were classmates, so we'd see each other at all of the choir/orchestra band concerts. And then I was actually in this building, and not in a mean way, but of course knew John and observed him as a teacher and thought, wow, that's cool. The things that you were doing. I think at that point you were actually with STEM. And then you went to 3rd.
Yeah.
But anyway, just lots of knowing him outside of teaching before we actually started teaching together.
Yeah. And taking that time to know a little bit about your practices and, kind of how you work in the classroom helped you really kind of jump in as that co-teacher.
Yeah, and something that I thought went really well for me and John is I just, as a STEM person coming into an ELA room, totally followed his lead and
Love it.
like you were almost like my mentor in how to figure out how to help you with writing. Well, not you, but the kids.
And I would say another thing is just having those kind of a lot of honest conversations, and not just about school, but about we'll talk about our kids and things like that too. But just kind of have conversations. Like me, I'll ask questions. Just getting opinions. Like even if you're just kind of bouncing things off the wall. Always willing to just kind of open up a conversation and share ideas.
And have that open dialogue back and forth, which kind of goes into the second question of, were there certain strategies that you initially used for that communication to get to that open and honest part? Definitely knowing the background and knowing each other personally and professionally helped. Were there some strategies in communication that were effective or successful?
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, one of the things when I taught 3rd grade, our team created, actually I think it was David Arkwright created, I don't want to take it, but he created this document which I've just kind of used for other purposes. But basically we have a Google Doc that we just share between us.
Oh, nice.
And so it's kind of got a system to color code, so you can 3, 2, 1 it for proficiency. And then you can kind of she'll type in so when she's doing a conference, she'll type in for that conference, the date and the time and her comments and what she thinks needs to be worked on. And then I can go back and type my own conference notes on that one later. We have a different color system for when the students, what their input is, what they want to work on, what they like, that's a different color. So you can see this is what the student said, this is what she said, this is what I said. We have another person, Tracy Naz, comes and helps occasionally. She can hop onto that document, so when she meets a kid, she can type her thoughts in there. So I think that's really helped because I don't have to meet with that student. I can see the essence of what does Patty think went well? What does she want to work on next? So if I'm the next person, I can pull that up and see that she thinks we need to work on paragraphic or whatever that would be. And then just the simple chart on the wall where the kids monitor where they are in the writing process, especially where it's after they've done their peer conference, there's a teacher conference where they sign up for that. And then there's next to that's when you have a quick check-in kind of thing, and not a conference, but just want to talk. So if she comes in and I'm doing something, she doesn't need to confer with me. You can just see the chart, and she knows exactly who needs to be worked with, that kind of thing.
I think it's been good for the kids for us to have that digital communication because we're not being I call it mom to dad. They know that when you sit down, you're going to look and you're going to say, oh, Mrs. Griffith says you need to work on that lead. Yeah. And then I trust that he's going to check the lead and then continue working on whatever the next steps are. At first, that was a learning process for us to figure out.
Yeah,
it's not John was like, hey, I have this beautiful thing right off the bat. It took a while for us to
trying
work out
it on
the
paper,
kinks.
different things that never really work. This has seemed to work really well.
I think so too.
Oh, yeah.
I think so too.
I think it's nice too that the students know that accountability is there. You don't have tons of time during the day to stop and talk to each other, and so it's a great way to have that digital accountability that the students know they converse somehow, so that they definitely know what to work on. Excellent. So then how do the two of you work on, and maybe there's others as well, really decide on the actual co-teaching model you want to use? Thinking about the students and what they need to learn, there's the 6 models of co-teaching. Is there some that you prefer, some that work in these situations? How do you kind of decide what to do?
So pushing in for writing, I do a lot of one-on-one conferencing because when I came into this role, that is the thing that all of the teachers said they could use an extra set of hands in the room.
Right.
So we do a lot of conferencing using that document to communicate back and forth. But there are also times that I push in and he'll have gathered a group of, even if we're working on conventions, like these 5 kids need the same thing. And so we will parallel teach where he might still have the whole group and I have a small group, or you have a small group, other kids are independent, and I have a small group. Yeah. So we're kind of targeting different standards based on what we're seeing. I would love if you were my only class I'm in, but I am in a multitude of classes. So we don't have the time to really sit down and plan all of that out all of the time. So some days it's truly winging it. Like I will walk in and he will know if he has a thing he needs help with, I'm going to jump in and help with that. And I feel like you're pretty flexible of if I come in with a crazy idea or in the middle of his lesson, if we're team teaching and there's something I want to, add, I know you're always fine with me jumping in. So that's nice.
I think that's so interesting in some of the other conversations that we've had as well. Flexibility always comes up, of being able to trust each other enough to be able to take that on the spot flexibility suggestion, or just kind of have that look with each other like, all right, we're changing this up. And so that's neat to hear that again. Besides flexibility and that strong communication, what are some other tips ultimately that you would suggest to either teams that maybe don't have this established relationship yet, or that are still trying to build their co-teaching partnership? What are some things just globally, tip-wise, that you would share with them?
And I would say this is just having taught for a long time and being a younger teacher myself, not anymore, really old, but and then having student teachers and then, different co-teachers. You really need to trust the decisions of the other person as well. Not just like when she comes in with her plans and go with that, what she writes in the comments, that conference, that counts, and just trust that conference and go with that. I just feel like sometimes, especially when you're, when I begin in my career, I would have to double check everything. And no, she's very confident. She knows what she's doing. And so what she writes in there, that's what I need to work on. I feel like that, just trusting your partner's decisions and their capabilities. And another one in that same vein I would think of is just, it can be, I think, again, especially thinking back as a younger teacher for myself, not so much now, but back then, especially if you're very new to it, you feel a little vulnerable having someone always in that room with you. And so you just have to get over that, I would say. Maybe that's not great advice, but I just feel like it was very awkward. My first time ever having a co-teacher or a student teacher, it's uncomfortable to think there's someone just watching me constantly. But that's not why they're there. They're there to focus on the students and help you be, maybe occasionally, if I see something, I might make a comment about what could be better, but that's in the spirit of constructive. And your focus is really the kids anyway.
Yep.
And so that would be, I guess, my 2 things. Just
love it.
Well, and I also feel like John does a great job of letting the kids just trust me as a teacher. I don't feel like I walk in and they're like, oh, that's the teacher for the kids who don't know what they're doing. They all want feedback with their writing, and they feel comfortable with our relationship to know that whoever they conference with, they're going to get sincere feedback, and we are going to follow up to see if they.
And I think we definitely make it's intentional to, she doesn't work with the same 5 kids. And I always have these kids, and so that, they start seeing that it's very random. And actually with Tracy, when she comes in, I still try to do the same thing. It's not like you're always working with these 3 kids who always seem to be getting extra help. She'll just meet anybody who's, if they're that chart, if they're on that chart for a conference, pick somebody and take them. So I feel like that helps too,
And that's such a shift from how it had been in my experience during math with RTI. Such a huge shift that I feel like these kids are really wow, here's this extra grown-up to help me with anything I need, because I know sometimes it's even the kids come up after recess and sometimes I don't get to my first spot because there's an SEL thing. So The teachers are also very flexible about that and understanding that I'm just one person, but I can help when you need help.
It sounds like you guys have really good structures in the classroom to build that culture of learning for all. And it's not just meant to support and identify or isolate students in any way. And so I'm sure that has taken a lot of work to get to this point. So I appreciate you guys sharing a little bit of your structures and story and all of the hard work that you've really put into it. So thank you very much.
Yeah.